Alright, hey everybody, welcome back. I had a little break there. Took a break from Magic for a couple weeks, just to have some fun with my family and stuff. We went on vacation. But anyway, I'm back, and this is my Modern Merfolk deck, and I have a couple games to show you, and I just thought I'd show you the deck and a couple of the decisions that I made. So first of all, we are blue-white Merfolk. The white's mainly for sideboard cards and Path to Exile, because Path to Exile is probably the best removal spell in Modern, um, and it's really good in this deck. And the sideboard cards are completely worth going into white. To help with the white, we have Glacial Fortresses and two Seagram Coasts and a Mystic Gate. We have one Plains. This probably should be a Hollow Fountain, but Hollow Fountains are quite expensive online. I'm hoping Shocklands get reprinted in Return to Ravnica and later sets, so we'll just wait for that. But in the meantime, here's the deck list. So we're playing 4 Aether Vials, obviously, to cheat out our creatures while holding up either Mana Leaks or Cryptic Command. Or I don't have Cryptic Command in this deck. I cut it just because it was slow. The only counter spell we have right now is Mana Leak, but post sideboard we have additional counters that we can board in. The Path to Exiles, as I've said, are for removable mostly. Them getting a land really isn't that bad against you, but getting a creature out of your way. This is most important against the non-blue decks, because against all the blue decks you should have Island Walk against them because of Lord of Atlantis and Master of the Pearl Tridents. Um, so these are mostly just for removing problem things like Kitchen Finks, um, or Jund creatures, because you can't Island Walk past them. The curse catchers are really good online because so many people are playing Storm, like Pyromancer's Ascension or Past in Flames, simply because it's so cheap. But they're just good all around, and you really want a 1-drop to go with all your 2-drop lords. It's really nice to be able to go Curse Catcher into Lord Atlantis or Master of the Pearl Trident. And his ability is very relevant, being able to counter instants and sorceries, like lightning bolts or any other removal spells that may be targeting your lords. And he also works well with Mana Leak. And so at our 2-drop spot, like I said, we have Mana Leaks as our main counters. I was thinking about Remand, but Remand just really doesn't do what you want. Drawing a card is nice and all, but them putting it back in their hand is pretty much a loss for this deck. You really want to get their main spells out of your hand, especially because most of the spells you're worried about are removal spells targeting your creatures, and just most of the removal spells in Modern just cost 1 or 2 mana, and so they can probably easily recast it on the same turn. So it's basically just a cycle effect for 2 mana that you have to leave up for. So I'd rather have a counter, an actual hard counter. Well, not hard counter, but an effective counter against removal spells. And so for our other ones, there's only 2 Core Helm Commanders because he takes a while to level up and stuff, but you do want him there. It's nice that he has flying, so he can fly over decks that you don't have Island Walk for. Um, and of course we have Lord of Atlantis and Master of the Pearl Trident. These guys are kind of awkward when you face the mirror match, but hey, he's a really good lord. Silvergill Adepts are great. Drawing a card and getting a 2/1 creature is insane. And I put in 2 Sig River Cutthroats simply because you really want to just keep drawing Merfolk and stuff, and this guy allows you to do that. He's really good at just allowing you to keep up the tempo just by having more cards in your hand. And finally, our 3-drop lords, we have Merfolk Sovereigns and Mirror Regeries. Merfolk Sovereigns, alright. I wish I had another 2-drop lord instead of this, but there aren't any. Although the unblockable has been relevant every now and then, especially when you make a Merfolk unblockable, then you play a Merfolk, use Mirror Regery to untap your Merfolk Sovereign, and then you'll have another, you get another use of the unblockable ability. As for sideboard cards, we have Ethersworn Canis, which are for the Storm matchups. We have Thalia, also for the Storm matchups. Thalia also comes in against any random like Delver decks that you might find, because those are running around a bit online. Erase is for Splinter Twin and Pyromancer's Ascension. It's nice to have just one white exile target enchantment. Echoing Truth, like I said, Storm's pretty prevalent, and some of the lists now are running Empty the Warrens, so you want this against them. Spell Pierces also can be used against Storm and Splinter Twin, as well as the Dispels. Tormod's Crypt's good against Pyromancer's Ascension, as well as you can side this in against the Pyromancer's Ascension decks. Grafdigger's Cage is for the Birthing Pod decks. There aren't many of those online, simply because it's pretty expensive with all the Restoration Angels and Kiki Jiki and Birthing Pods. So there aren't that many online, but you do run into them every now and then, and so we have Grafdigger's Cage for that, as well as a Divine Offering for their Birthing Pods. And so let's go to the matches. So in these matches, I'm playing against Blue Red Storm, playing both Pyromancer's Ascension and the Past in Flames combo. So this hand is alright. I wish this was an island or or Seacrum Coast, simply so we could cast Path to Exile and our blue spells on turn 2 if we ever draw a 2-drop Lord. But we do have Aether Vial, which allows us to play all these easily. So we go ahead and keep this hand. So I go first, and I lead with Mutavault, Aether Vial, rather than Glacial Fortress, because I wouldn't be able to play the Aether Vial turn 1. So he just plays a Scalding Tarn, and I get a counter, and I just leave a... I don't Violet in now, simply because you can do it in response to one of their spells. So he fetches a mountain, and now he has an island, so he plays Pyromancer's Ascension. Sadly, Curse Catcher only works on instants and sorcery, so we can't Violet in and counter that. So he just attacks and probes us, which is fine. I don't really care if he sees what we get. I'm not going to counter that with Curse Catcher. I'd rather have the threats. Especially if we draw another land, we can simply just play Mirror Reedry. Sadly, this Path to Exile is pretty much dead if he's playing Storm, which he is. So we'll sideboard those out after this game. So I do draw land and fetch an island, and go ahead and play a Reedry and swing for 2. So he just Thought Scours himself. Here's his graveyard. I go ahead and get another counter just so I can Violent Sovereign. So he plays Silvergill Adept. Uses trigger to untap Mutavault. So that we'll be able to activate our Mutavault using Glacial Fortress. We'll just play Curse Catcher with this, use the Reedry trigger to untap Glacial Fortress, and then we can still activate Mutavault. And so Silvergill Adept comes into play. We get draw card. It's another Curse Catcher, which is really good. And so we're able to untap that again. So now we have 3 Curse Catchers out on the field, which should stop any combo shenanigans he might try next turn. And we go play another one. Untap. Activate Mutavault. Violin. Our Merfolk Sovereign. And swing. So he's dead next turn. There's pretty much no way he can get out of this. So he tries Desperate Ritual, and I just go ahead and sack to counter it. And we win that game. So for sideboard, what I decided to do, since I saw Pyromancer's Ascension, I brought in the 2 Erases, the Thalias, the Ethersworn Canonists, Tormod's Crypt, and 2 Spell Pierces. And for these 9 cards, I believe I took out 4 Sovereigns, 4 Path to Exiles because they're dead, and I took out 1 Aether Vial, simply because you don't want to be drawing multiples, especially in this matchup. So on to game 2. I decided to mulligan this hand simply because we have absolutely no white and no real disruption unless we draw blue swords, and Mana Leak really isn't that much disruption against them. So we go ahead and keep this hand because we have Aether Vial, we have a Curse Catcher, and we have 2 Mana Leaks, so if we ever draw another land, then we should be set. So he goes ahead and slide hands. We draw Ethersworn Canonist, which will be really good in this matchup, especially with our Aether Vial. You can vial it in after they've gone for all their combo and stuff, either with Past in Flames or they've got 2 counters on their Ascension. So we just go ahead and drop Curse Catcher, and he bolts it, which is good. It's good that he bolted this rather than our Ethersworn Canonist, because we'd rather have the Canonist. I don't know why he wasted a Lightning Bolt on it. I mean, he can easily play around a Curse Catcher, unless he's light on lands, of course. But this Curse Catcher really isn't causing him that much trouble right now, so I don't see why he just bolted it there. So he continues to dirtle around with all his cards, just filtering through looking for stuff. So now we have Aether Vial up to 2. Sadly draw an Erase, but don't have a white source. This is why I need a Hollow Fountain, and I'll try to get one. But this deck really doesn't want to take damage from its lands, simply because of its racing. It can race pretty well. You don't want to take any damage, though you can avoid, simply just because most of your spells are blue, and you do have a lot of white sources. So I go ahead and vial in Silvergill Adept at the end of his turn, and draw Reejerey. Still no land, sadly, but we go ahead and beat with Silvergill Adept. I leave the vial at 2, which is good to note, simply because I want to vial in this, and if he doesn't do anything, I can vial in Silvergill Adept. It's weird though, he lightning bolted me instead of saving it for a problematic creature. It's probably because he wanted to go off. He wouldn't have played this if he had Pyromancer's Ascension, because it would have given him a counter. So I just figure he has Past in Flames. So he plays Shivian Reef. Now, the hard thing here is timing your Ethersworn Canonist. You usually want to let all the rituals resolve unless they have a Past in Flames in their graveyard. Simply because you want to get all the cards you can out of their hand before you just drop Ethersworn Canonist and completely destroy their turn. So he goes for Past in Flames, and I decide to violent Ethersworn Canonist before he can attempt anything off of that. So I can vial that in safely simply because I'm pretty sure he doesn't have a lightning bolt. If he had a lightning bolt, he definitely would have played it before, simply because he had the extra mana, and it wouldn't have cost him anything at all, and he would have been able to flash it back later. So we go ahead and drop that and completely ruin his turn. So now we still don't have another land, but we go ahead and vial in Silvergill Adept. Now we have a Curse Catcher, and so he'll have a really rough time flashing back Past in Flames and have enough mana for his rituals and stuff. So we bring the beats. He just Faithless Looting again, which is completely fine. And I take the vial up because I'd rather vial in Mara Reejerey in case we draw an island. If we draw an island, I'm leaving a mana leak anyway, but I'll be able to cast this guy, and I won't be able to cast this guy soon. So I go ahead and take the vial up. By now we have 3 mana leaks, so if we ever draw another island, the game's pretty much ours. So we just draw another Silvergill Adept, and I vial in Reejerey, and swing. And so at this point, he's just pretty much dead. He's at 4, we have a Curse Catcher. He could draw some rituals and stuff, but my Ethersworn Canonist is still on the table, making things rough. And so we win the game. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment on the deck and what you think could make it better and stuff. And thanks for watching.